In 1991, a routine night at an Austin yogurt shop turned into a scene of unimaginable horror, leaving 4 young lives stolen and a mystery that still grips Texas with unanswered questions. Welcome back to Crime Line Doc, where we dive deep into the world's most perplexing and haunting true crime stories. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community as we unravel mysteries that have left investigators and communities searching for answers. Today, we're exploring one of the most infamous unsolved cases in Texas history, the Austin yogurt shop murders. This case, which unfolded on a cold December night in 1991, shocked a city known for its laid-back vibe and left a scar that still lingers more than 3 decades later. On December 6, 1991, 4 teenage girls, Jennifer Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers, were brutally murdered inside an I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop in Austin, Texas. The crime was horrific. The girls were bound, gagged, shot execution style, and the shop was set ablaze, destroying much of the evidence. What makes this case so compelling and so frustrating is that despite thousands of leads, dozens of confessions, and advancements in DNA technology, the killer, or killers, remain at large. In this video, we'll walk you through the events of that tragic night, the investigation that followed, the suspects who were arrested and later released, and the lingering questions that continue to haunt the victims' families and the city of Austin. Before we begin, a quick note. This case involves graphic details and sensitive subject matter, including violence against minors. We'll approach this story with the respect and care it deserves, honoring the memory of the victims and their families. If you have any information about this case, you can contact the Austin Police Department or Crime Stoppers, and we'll include those details at the end of the video. To understand the impact of this crime, we need to go back to Austin, Texas in 1991. Austin was a different place then, a quirky liberal college town known for its music scene, laid-back culture, and events like Eeyore's birthday party. It was a city where people felt safe, where violent crime was rare, and where the idea of a quadruple homicide seemed unthinkable. But on that fateful December night, Austin's sense of innocence was shattered. Let's set the scene. It's Friday, December 6, 1991, and the holiday season is in full swing. At a strip mall on West Anderson Lane in North Austin, the I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop is nearing closing time. The shop, part of a popular frozen yogurt chain, is a typical hangout spot for teenagers. It's located near North Cross Mall, a bustling hub for local teens. Working that night are 2 17-year-old employees, Jennifer Harbison and Eliza Thomas. Jennifer's younger sister, 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, and her friend, 13-year-old Amy Ayers, are also at the shop, waiting for a ride home with Jennifer after her shift. Jennifer and Eliza are responsible for closing up, a routine task that involves cleaning, locking the front door, and securing the day's earnings. The girls are friends, connected through their school's Future Farmers of America program, where their shared love for animals brought them together. They're described as bright, kind, and full of life, teenagers with dreams and futures ahead of them. Jennifer, outgoing and responsible, is the older sister looking out for Sarah. Eliza, an animal lover, is planning to show a pig at an upcoming livestock event. Sarah, a typical 15-year-old, is excited to spend time with her sister and friend. Amy, the youngest at 13, is known for her spunky personality and love for horses and cats. As the clock approaches midnight, the shop is quiet. Customers have dwindled, and the girls are likely preparing to leave. But something goes terribly wrong. At 11:47 p.m., a patrolling Austin Police Department officer notices flames coming from the yogurt shop. Firefighters are dispatched thinking they're responding to a routine fire. But when they enter the smoldering building, they make a horrifying discovery. Inside, amidst the charred remains of the shop, are the bodies of 4 teenage girls. Jennifer Harbison, Sarah Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers have been stripped, bound with their own clothing, gagged, and shot in the head, execution style. The fire, investigators later determined, was intentionally set, likely to destroy evidence. The scene is chaotic, with water from sprinklers and firefighters' hoses mixing with debris, insulation, and soot. The bodies are badly burned, making identification difficult. Reese Price, the shop's 24-year-old manager, is called to the scene to identify the girls, sparing their families the trauma of seeing them in such a state. She later recalls there wasn't anything there to identify. Fire is very destructive. It's not forgiving. The crime scene is gruesome. Investigators determined that at least 2 weapons were used: a .22 caliber revolver and a .380 semi-automatic pistol. The girls were shot in the back of the head, suggesting a methodical, execution-style killing. Evidence suggests that at least one of the girls, likely Amy Ayers, was sexually assaulted. Amy's body is found about 10 feet away from the others near the shop's safe, indicating she may have fought back or tried to escape. Autopsy reports later reveal a contusion on her lower lip, possibly from being struck, and she was shot twice, unlike the others who were shot once. The killer or killers used the girls' own underwear to bind and gag them, adding to the brutality of the crime. The fire destroyed much of the physical evidence, complicating the investigation from the start. The sprinklers and firefighting efforts washed away potential fingerprints, DNA, and other clues. However, investigators note that the front door was locked, with the key still in the lock, suggesting the perpetrator entered and exited through an unlocked back door. The organized nature of the crime, controlling 4 victims, binding them, and setting the fire, points to someone experienced, possibly an adult, rather than a group of impulsive teenagers, as one of the original detectives, John Jones, later suggests. The motive is unclear. The leading theory is that this was a robbery gone wrong. The shop's cash register and safe were tampered with, and some money was missing, though the exact amount is uncertain due to the fire damage. However, the level of violence, sexual assault, execution-style shootings, and arson suggests something more sinister than a simple theft. Was this a targeted attack? Did the girls know their killer, or was it a random act of violence by someone passing through? These questions would haunt investigators and the community for decades. Before we dive into the investigation, let's take a moment to remember the 4 girls whose lives were tragically cut short. Their stories are at the heart of this case, and their families' ongoing quest for justice keeps their memories alive. Jennifer Harbison, 17. Jennifer was a responsible and caring older sister working at the yogurt shop to earn extra money. She was known for her warm personality and love for animals, particularly through her involvement in the Future Farmers of America. Her mother, Barbara Ayers Wilson, recalls Jennifer and her sister Sarah being in high spirits that day, excited to spend time together. Barbara remembers hugging them both before they left for the shop, a memory that now carries profound regret. You just have all of these regrets of not protecting them. How could someone be and then not be? Sarah Harbison, 15. Sarah, Jennifer's younger sister, was a typical teenager with a close bond with her sister. She and her friend Amy were at the shop that night, waiting for Jennifer to finish her shift. Sarah was vibrant, with a love for life and a mischievous streak. Her death, alongside her sisters, devastated their mother, Barbara, who has spoken publicly for years in hopes of finding answers. Eliza Thomas, 17. Eliza, like Jennifer, worked at the yogurt shop and was passionate about animals. She was preparing to show a pig at a livestock event, a task her younger sister, Sonora Thomas, took up after her death. Sonora, who was 13 at the time, describes the profound loss of her sister. "I've never woken up on a day when my sister wasn't alive." The grief forced Sonora to grow up quickly, carrying the weight of her sister's absence. Amy Ayers, 13, the youngest victim. Amy was described by her brother Sean and sister-in-law Angie as a fun-loving, caring girl who adored horses and cats. She fought for her life that night, as evidenced by her injuries and the fact that she was shot twice and found away from the others. Her family remains vocal about seeking justice, with Angie telling WFAA, "It's called evil. That's what it is. No one with a mind, conscience, heart, or morals would be able to do that to 4 girls." The loss of these 4 girls sent shockwaves through Austin. The community rallied around the families, holding vigils, marches, and fundraisers. A billboard offering a $100,000 reward for information loomed over the city, and the phrase, "We will not forget," became a rallying cry. But as the years passed, the lack of answers deepened the pain for the families in the city. Sonora Thomas, Eliza's sister, told HBO's The Yogurt Shop Murders, "I remember fantasizing for days that my sister had somehow escaped and ran away and was hiding." The family's grief is palpable. a wound that has never fully healed. The Austin Police Department, APD, faced immense pressure to solve this high-profile case. The quadruple homicide was unlike anything the city had seen, and the public demanded answers. Lead investigator John Jones, a seasoned homicide detective, was the first on the scene. He described the experience to 48 Hours. "I can still see the inside of that place. That stuff's indelibly burned in my mind." Jones and his team, supported by the FBI, ATF, and Texas Department of Public Safety, launched a massive investigation, interviewing hundreds of witnesses and chasing thousands of tips. Early on, investigators focused on physical evidence, but the fire and water damage made it scarce. They recovered bullets from a .22 and a .380, confirming 2 weapons were used. The unlocked back door suggested the killer's entry and exit point. Witnesses reported seeing 2 men who looked out of place in the shop shortly before closing, drinking but not eating yogurt. Despite efforts, including hypnotizing witnesses, these men were never identified, leaving a lingering question: could they hold the key to solving the case? 8 days after the murders, on December 14, 1991, police arrested 16-year-old Maurice Pierce at North Cross Mall, just blocks from the yogurt shop. Pierce was carrying a .22 caliber revolver, one of the weapon types used in the killings. During questioning, Pierce claimed he had loaned the gun to his friend, 15-year-old Forrest Wellborn, who used it in the murders and later returned it, sweaty and smelling of hairspray. Pierce also implicated 2 other friends, Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott, saying they were involved. All 4 were questioned but released due to lack of evidence. That .22 Pierce carried couldn't be conclusively matched to the crime scene bullets. This early lead set the tone for the investigation. Promising, but inconclusive. The APD interviewed customers, employees, and friends of the girls, but the trail went cold. In 1992, Mexican authorities arrested a motorcycle gang leader who matched a description of a man seen near the shop, but his confession was ruled false after claims of torture. Over 50 people, including notorious serial killer Kenneth McDuff, confessed to the murders, but all were deemed unreliable. McDuff, who was in the area and had a history of murdering teenagers, was ruled out and executed in 1998. By 1996, after thousands of hours of investigation, the case remained unsolved. In 1999, with homicides down in Austin, the APD reopened the case under new lead investigator Paul Johnson. The focus returned to the 4 teenagers questioned in 1991: Maurice Pierce, Forrest Wellborn, Robert Springsteen, and Michael Scott. After intense interrogations, Springsteen and Scott confessed to the murders, providing details that prosecutors claimed only the killers would know, such as the locked front door, the open back door, and the contusion on Amy's lip. However, these confessions raised red flags. Both men were interrogated for over 20 hours, and their defense attorneys argued the confessions were coerced. Detective Hector Polanco, involved in the interrogations, had a history of coercing false confessions in another case, where Christopher Ochoa and Richard Danziger were wrongfully convicted and later exonerated. Scott and Springsteen's confessions contained inconsistencies, and some details, like the number of shots fired, matched public reports, suggesting they may have been fed information. The HBO docuseries highlights a police recording room sign that reads, "Quite please," instead of "Quiet please," underscoring the investigation's sloppiness. In 1999, all 4 men, Pierce, Wellborn, Scott, and Springsteen, were arrested and charged with capital murder. Charges against Pierce and Wellborn were dropped due to insufficient evidence, but Scott and Springsteen went to trial. In 2001, Springsteen was convicted of Amy Ayers' murder and sentenced to death. In 2002, Scott was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. The prosecutions relied heavily on their confessions, as there was no physical evidence linking them to the crime. The convictions didn't hold. In 2006, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned Scott and Springsteen's convictions on constitutional grounds, citing a violation of their Sixth Amendment right to confront their accusers. Their confessions were used against each other, but they weren't allowed to cross-examine one another in court. In 2009, new DNA testing using YSTR technology revealed a partial male DNA profile from one of the victims, likely Amy Ayers, who was sexually assaulted. Shockingly, this DNA did not match Scott, Springsteen, Pierce, or Wellborn. This discovery was a game changer. Prosecutors, led by Travis County District Attorney Rosemary Lemberg, intended to retry Scott and Springsteen but wanted to identify the unknown male DNA donor first. Lemberg stated, "The reliable scientific evidence in the case presents one and one only unknown male donor. Given that, I could not in good conscience allow this case to go to trial before the identity of this male donor is determined." On October 28, 2009, all charges against Scott and Springsteen were dismissed, and they were released after nearly a decade in prison. The DNA evidence raised new questions. Was the unknown male the killer? Could the DNA be from a consensual encounter, though this seems unlikely given Amy's age of 13? The YSTR profile, which focuses on male DNA, was matched to a research database by the FBI in 2017, but the agency declined to reveal the donor's identity due to anonymity laws and the fact that thousands of men could share this DNA fragment. This partial profile with only 16 markers isn't precise enough to identify an individual definitively, unlike a full DNA profile. With no convictions and an unidentified DNA profile, the yogurt shop murders remain a puzzle. Let's explore some of the theories about what happened that night and why the case remains unsolved. Theory 1. Robbery gone wrong. The most widely accepted theory is that the murders were the result of a botched robbery. The tampered cash register and safe suggests the perpetrator was after money. The violence, sexual assault, executions, and arson may have escalated when the girls resisted or the situation spiraled out of control. The presence of two guns and the organized nature of the crime suggest at least two perpetrators, possibly experienced criminals, as Detective John Jones noted. However, the extreme brutality seems disproportionate for a simple robbery, leading some to question if there was a personal motive. Theory 2. Targeted attack. Another theory posits that the girls, or one of them, were targeted. The fact that they were bound and sexually assaulted suggests a level of intent beyond a spontaneous robbery. Some speculate the killer knew the girls or had a grudge, perhaps related to their work at the shop. However, no evidence supports a personal connection, and the girls' families insist they had no enemies. The locked front door and open back door suggest the killer was familiar with the shop's layout, possibly a regular customer or someone who had cased the place earlier. Theory 3. Serial killer or transient criminal. The possibility of a serial killer has been considered, especially given Kenneth McDuff's presence in the area. McDuff, a known murderer of teenagers, was ruled out, but could another transient criminal have passed through Austin? The two unidentified men seen in the shop before closing are a focal point. Were they involved, or were they simply bystanders? The lack of identification after extensive efforts, including hypnosis, keeps this theory alive, but unproven. Why hasn't the case been solved? Several factors have hindered the investigation. Destroyed evidence. The fire and water damage obliterated fingerprints, DNA, and other clues, leaving investigators with little to work with. False confessions. Over 50 people confessed, clogging the investigation with dead ends. The coerced confessions of Scott and Springsteen further muddied the waters. Police missteps. Detective Hector Polanco's history of coercive tactics and the APD's tunnel vision on the four teenagers may have overlooked other suspects. The Austin Chronicle compares this to the Michael Morton case, where prosecutorial misconduct led to a wrongful conviction. DNA limitations. The YSTR DNA profile is promising but incomplete, unable to pinpoint an individual. The FBI's refusal to disclose the database match adds another layer of frustration. The HBO docuseries The Yogurt Shop Murders, which premiered on August 3rd, 2025, highlights these challenges. Directed by Margaret Brown and produced by Emma Stone and Dave McCary, the series uses archival footage from an unfinished 2009 documentary by Claire Hui, along with new interviews with investigators, families, and experts. It emphasizes the emotional toll on the community and the flaws in the investigation, such as the misspelled "quite please" sign in the interrogation room, symbolizing broader incompetence. The Yogurt Shop Murders didn't just affect the victims' families, they changed Austin. The city, once known for its carefree spirit, grappled with a loss of innocence. Politicians and residents adopted the mantra, "We lost our innocence that night," as noted in Texas Monthly. Community members marched with signs reading, "We will not forget," and local artists even wrote a song by that name. The case also spurred legislative change. In 2022, President Joe Biden signed the Homicide Victims' Families' Rights Act, inspired by the yogurt shop murders. The law allows families to request federal reviews of cold cases applying new technologies and standards. This gives hope to the victims' families, who continue to advocate for justice. The emotional toll on the victims' families is profound. Barbara Ayers Wilson, mother of Jennifer and Sarah, has spoken publicly for decades, hoping to keep the case alive. She told HBO, "You just have all of these regrets of not protecting them." Sonora Thomas, Eliza's sister, describes the isolation of grief. People can be wary about approaching her with the tragedy always looming. Amy's brother Sean and his wife Angie remain committed to finding answers, with Angie telling WFAA, "They're not forgotten, they're not given up on." The family's pain is compounded by the lack of closure. The overturned convictions and unidentified DNA donor leave them in limbo. Detective Dan Jackson, assigned to the case in 2022, told USA Today, "It's such a huge case. I sort of knew at that point I would be with it forever." He remains optimistic, believing advancements in DNA technology could crack the case. As we stand in 2025, the yogurt shop murders remain one of America's most perplexing cold cases. The partial DNA profile offers hope, but without a full match, the killer's identity remains elusive. The two unidentified men seen in the shop, the botched investigation, and the destroyed evidence continue to frustrate efforts. Yet, the families, investigators, and community hold on to the promise of, "We will not forget." Today, the site of the yogurt shop is occupied by Glow Nails Beauty Bar, but a memorial outside honors the girls. The case is still active, and Detective Jackson encourages tips to austincrimestoppers.org or yogurtshop@austintexas.gov. If you know something, no matter how small, come forward. You could hold the key to justice for Jennifer, Sarah, Eliza, and Amy. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the yogurt shop murders. What do you think happened that night? Do you believe the DNA will finally lead to answers? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know which case you'd like us to cover next. If you found this video compelling, give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe for more true crime stories. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and let's keep seeking the truth.